Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world of sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderpool, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, we are going to dive deep into the variance game of the season, as was noted by several national media pundits after the 4th of July. I think it had something to do with the few number of games on Friday night, so a lot of people checked in. But Sporting Kansas City takes home a 2-1 victory in Colorado, their first victory in Colorado in 10 years, while losing the XG battle by at least 3 in pretty much every XG model you can find. So it was quite the notable circumstance for a lot of the national media. I will agree that the eye test did, for the most part, align with the underlying numbers when it comes to expected goals. Colorado had by far the preponderance of high-quality chances. But I do think this game was a little bit more than just sometimes ball go in, because Colorado took really terrible shots in this game. So for as good as their chances were, their execution of said chances was pretty poor, whereas Sporting Kansas City's execution was pretty high. And I think that was the main difference that you saw in this game. Both of the high-quality shots that Sporting got, they took very well, and they actually won the post-shot XG battle in this game over Colorado. So while the XG was very significantly in Colorado's favor, the post-shot XG, which measures the quality of the shot and the likelihood at which it will be saved, was significantly not significantly, but was in Sporting Kansas City's favor, which should tell you something about how Colorado performed in this game from a shooting perspective. That said, you expect over time that kind of thing to even out, and I'm sure Chris Armas will be telling his players after this game that this is continue to play in this way, and we will continue to, get results. Sometimes the result doesn't go your way. That's fine. Just keep doing these things. Georgi Mihailovic isn't going to hit the post twice every game. Yeah. Right? So I think from that perspective, yeah, for sure. But it also sort of underlines something that has been a bit of an issue for Sporting Kansas City this year, which is they often lose the XG battle. In fact, almost always lose it. I think they've only won the XG battle 2 or 3 times this season. They have the worst expected goal differential in the league by 2x any other team. They have the worst expected goals against in the league by about 10. Well, depending on the model, 7 to 10, depending on the XG model. So this is, while they have stolen a few wins in this way, taking no shots against the Galaxy, losing the XG battle pretty badly in San Jose and coming away with a 5-3 victory. You may remember that one. Obviously, this victory here. It is nice to see that they are still somehow getting results out of these games, and some of them are related to their quality of shots, some very key saves at the right time for John Pulskamp, which we'll get into in a minute. It's hard to see how this type of performance is going to continue to yield results. Right, Cody?
Yeah, I saw Matt Doyle had posted something to the effect of, it's just their underlying numbers are really among the worst in the league, and I knew that
not among the worst.
They are for many of them. Yeah, and so I knew that
it's between them and Toronto,
right?
Pretty much for all of them, all of the worst. Now, some of them they have an anchor of the first 6 games of the season.
Absolutely.
When they were obsessively poor in chance creation, which is part of the problem, but still, it's not like since Vagnon has taken over, they've all of a sudden been a high quality team. And
I knew that was the case. That was not a surprising statement to me at all. But I did go back and poke around on a lot of the underlying statistics for this season, and it's really just it's kind of amazing that they've been doing as well as they have, and they've gotten as many results as they have. And as you mentioned, I'm not really sure how sustainable it is, and so when we start to think about who's going to be coaching the team next year, I think that's something that you have to take into consideration. I mean, I do think that as we've mentioned previously, the roster quality has a lot to do with some of the problems, but it doesn't explain all of them, right? And so there's this weird sort of convergence of strange things affecting Sporting Kansas City, from their previous coach to a sort of continuation of some things that we saw under Peter Vermes, to not having a roster with a lot of high level talent on it, to having a roster without not really a lot of depth on it, and so like it's just really difficult to kind of parse what is going on, and what should be a reasonable expectation of this team, and so like I I mean, I don't think they're very good, and I think that I predicted them to be 12th in the West, and I still think that that's a pretty reasonable expectation. I'm ecstatic that they are stringing together some wins, but I agree. Like to some extent, it's a little bit fool's gold, but there's also on the flip side of that statement. Good teams and elite players consistently overperform their many of their underlying metrics, and so but I also don't think that this team is that, and so it's just this it's just something to sort of like mull around a lot. I don't think that there are a lot of readily available answers, at least not that two podcasters can sort of come up with.
Yeah, I don't think that I could sit here and try and explain to you why this is happening. I recall a couple years ago we discussed an interview that Luke Bourne did, where he said, look, if there was a way for me to accurately predict luck, that would be the best. That is like, it's of all the statistics and everything they model, luck is still the highest performing one of all of them, both positively and negatively for a team.
Yep.
And it's just kind of how it goes. I do think flow state and confidence does kind of go into this at some level, and I don't want to diminish the value of Zavagnin in the fact that the players seem to like him. He seems to manage very well.
Yeah.
The vibe around the team is very positive, even though they know that they're not the best team in the league, and I think most of them would admit to you that they don't expect to be cup contenders this year.
Right.
They also there's a positive vibe around them. They're playing with confidence. They're feeling empowered to play soccer, and I think that that does at some level probably enable them to overperform what would be expected of them in given situations. I think the other thing too, and we'll get to this when we get to the tactical corner part of this, where I think we'll talk a little bit more about roster construction, especially as we're getting into the summer transfer window. A lot of conversation about what areas should be prioritized is the nature of the roster sort of leading towards these performances, and sort of the if this then that kind of thing that's happening with how they're playing, where Zavagnin is having to make calculated risks just because
I mean every coach is to some degree.
Every coach is, but I think Zavagnin is getting from his range of risk is much further on the high risk end, right? His lowest amount of risk is still fairly risky compared to what LAFC is dealing with, right? And I think from that perspective, just the limitations of the roster mean that the best way to have the most potential for scoring points, as in winning games and draws, means that they are going to give up some of these types of chances at times, with the idea being that, yes, they'll allow wide progression against fullbacks who aren't very good 1v1, but they do have a couple center backs and a central defensive midfielder who are very good at cutting out crosses. So, yes, sometimes the ball ends up on the foot of a forward in a bad place that would yield a high XG shot, but it is bothered enough by the players there that it doesn't turn into one, right? And I think or it is bothered that the quality of the shot that comes off his foot is not good, right? And so I think that there's something to be said for that. Again, I don't think that it's a conducive way to build a winning soccer team, but I will also say American Soccer Analysis also does expected points simulations, right? So like how many points would a team have scored, and they have Sporting Kansas City at 18.5 expected points. So while they are overperforming their expected points, they're not doing it by near as much as a bunch of other teams in the league are. Right. So like Portland is like 12 above their expected points total. Portland is barely above Sporting in expected points. They're at like 21.5, so 3 more expected points than Sporting, but they're on 33, whereas Sporting is on 23. So while their expected goal differential is bad, and running a negative 20 expected goal differential, or 1 goal per game effectively, is not a good way to get results in this league, and trying to overperform that figure at the level they are is not a good way to do it. They are still not overperforming game to game as much as it may seem like they are. And I think that that's a key thing to remember. They have not lost by as much as they, or not lost or won by a goal, and they should have lost by 1. You know, like they're making up this differential in sort of the margins more than they are as far as results. So I think that's key to remember. Also, game state plays into this. Sporting scored this goal in what, the 5th minute? 3rd minute? I forget when the goal was, but it was very early in this game. So they have never won. Well, they had not never won, but they had not won in Colorado since 2014. They get an early lead.
I think that might have been like the first road drawn I went to or something like that, because it was a very long time ago. It might have even been before that, but I know where they won. But holy cow, that's a long time, man.
Yeah. So I mean, Colorado's a hard place to play.
Sure, it is.
And Sporting, I'd have to look back at like how often this happens. I think Austin in the Discord had mentioned that like this always happens on 4th of July. The last 2 have been in Colorado on 4th of July weekend. They have played a bunch of other teams on 4th of July, but I have to look. It does seem like it's not uncommon for this away game to be in the heat as well as at altitude, right? So
right.
You put all of those things together, and it's a difficult task. And so I can understand why the team would struggle, but you get that goal early, right? Pressing high. I was surprised to see them break out with pressure, although they have broken out with pressure from goal kicks all year. So pressing goal kicks has been something they've been doing. And yeah, I mean, just an absolute,
especially early in the game, and I think that was
when the guys are fresh and you can be really aggressive.
You can't press very deep into a game when you're running out Fernandez and Leibold as part of your back line. I mean,
100%. And also when you're at altitude and it's hot and all those things, you're only going to be able to run that press for so long. But early in the game with a goal kick against an inexperienced goalkeeper and Nico Hagen, they get what they get out of it. And it was a very, it was good pressure by Decky. I haven't really been that excited about his high pressure to begin with this year. That's not something in his game I look at and go, yeah, that's great. But he did a pretty good job. And then obviously Tommy's pressure was elite. And
his timing and arriving to sort of, get the ball.
Right as the ball arrived.
Really fantastic.
It was really, really good. And he dispossesses and just plays Joveljic in, and you've got 1 goal. And at that point, I can understand why Sporting would not even attempt to try to get forward that much after that, right? And not to say that they're elite at playing through space with numbers to begin with.
Right.
They pretty well got dominated through the midfield in this game, and but they also sort of just stayed firm outside of, Polskan giving up a bad rebound and giving up a penalty. I think that for the most part, outside of that penalty and Mihailovic's other shot off the post, I don't know that they gave a ton of shots away. They gave like half a post shot XG to Awazium's header into the ground that like was just the easiest catch on earth. So I don't know what that was about. Sometimes this is when those expected models don't work so great. But I didn't think of anything in the first half outside of those 2 shots from Mihailovic that were super dangerous.
Well, I mean, at the end of the first half, you had that huge save from Pulskamp on sort of the breakaway. Um, and
That was the beginning of the second half.
Oh, it was in the beginning of the second half. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
well, whatever that was,
yeah.
and so yeah, he made and Pulskamp made a couple of really huge saves in the second half. And if you're going to overperform your underlying numbers, you have to get really big elite performances out of your key players. And I think that Joveljic and Tommy and Pulskamp all delivered during the game, and kudos to them. I mean, you have to play the game that's in front of you, and Pulskamp I think has really just continued to impress. And for me right now, he is he's right up there with Manu and Joveljic in terms of my comfortability with him returning next year,
With his continued his continued inclusion in the team. Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
I think I mean, look, whatever problems they have, like he's low on the list, right? Like he is improving all the time, and we have seen that he can be also a weapon, and so I'm very pleased with him.
So I'm actually looking at this now, and since Opta has fixed this, it looks like Sporting did not win the XG battle, because they've got the post shot XG battle. Yeah. They've got the post shot XG up to 1.8 now for Colorado in this one. So that's probably a little bit more in line. They didn't give a ton to that Rafa Navarro shot that you're talking about at the beginning of the second half.
Right.
It was like just a quarter of a post shot XG, which I was I guess since it was saved, maybe so. But anyway, when you put all of them together, he did end up at like saving almost a full goal, or an 8/10 of a goal. So what I really thought was interesting about
he has the most saves of any goalkeeper in MLS.
Yeah, because he faces the most shots
of
any goalkeeper in the league. Yeah, yep. I mean, and that's not necessarily, I think they mentioned this on Shades of Blue this week, that's not necessarily a stat you want to be proud of.
No,
right?
Not at all.
that means that he's facing too many shots.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that I will say is noteworthy is that he did make 7 saves in this game. Only a couple of them were really like noteworthy saves.
Right.
But they are also meaning Colorado didn't take good shots. Sporting put them off just enough that the shot wasn't very good and he was able to cover it. A few different things. But what I find of Pulskamp is oftentimes early in the game, maybe he gives a bad rebound like he does before the penalty. He parried one away, kind of back into traffic, which wasn't the best thing. There's a few things that you could quibble about his performance. But if they need a clutch stop to stay in a game, he makes it, right? And I think that, and this is something you can't measure with any statistical model, really. I guess you can at some level. It's like you can look at, the XG of the shot saved while up a goal or even in the last half hour of a game. I suppose you can look at that, but I think, and this is anecdotal, but I've noticed this over the last several games. When the team needs a result and they give up one of those big chances that they give up, especially in the last 15 minutes of games, Pulskamp is coming up big in those circumstances.
Yep.
And you just cannot put a price tag on that. Your ability to come up with that save at that point to allow your team to continue to move on, that is a huge thing that is just immeasurable and also just extremely valuable. And it gives your teammates confidence in you as a goalkeeper. It builds confidence in yourself. I think to your point, he is so far down the list of issues they need to address. I mean, I don't think Pulskamp is a top quality goalkeeper in this league, but I also think he is perfectly useful as a goalkeeper in MLS and does make those big saves. And I do wonder how much his performances overall would improve if he's not under fire the whole game, like he is a lot. And I think that the fact that he's performing as well as he is the last several months, being under the amount of pressure that he is for the number of shots that he's having to face, shows how much he's improved. I think I forgot to mention this last week, but we were talking about his performance, and I think for some reason we were looking at the last time. Maybe I did mention this. I can't remember if I did or not. But we were looking at the last time Sporting had, gotten 2 goals at the end of a game to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they beat Charlotte. So it was a couple weeks ago. And the first one that came to my mind was 2021 versus Austin. I think they scored. They weren't in stoppage time, but they scored in like the 82nd and the 89th. It was the Elie corner kick, if I remember, was the winning goal. That was scored to beat Austin 2-1 in 2021, and I think we were even still doing like partial stadium at that point, if I remember correctly. And Pulskamp played goal in that game because I went back to look at the highlights of it, and man, the difference in player that you see between 2021, getting 500 minutes a season, John Pulskamp, to this guy that I'm watching now is huge. Like, it's a huge difference. And so you see that level of development. You see his continued growth. And, I mean, these are the kinds of things that allow you as a fan of this team to go, yeah, we're not very good. Yeah, we've stolen some points in games maybe we shouldn't have. But also, we got all these young guys on this team getting better. I can see a future for this team, and they are fun to watch again, right? And I think that when you put all those things together, I really don't give a shit about the XG difference in this game and whether everyone else nationwide thinks it's funny or not. I don't care. I'm more concerned.
I think
about
it's
the
funny, but we won, so haha.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the funny part, right? I mean.
Yeah. Beat it, nerds. We won the game.
Right.
You can be all Bruce Arena about it. The only stat I care about is the final score.
Yeah. Amen.
So, yeah, I think that, we need to be honest with each other and honest with y'all about the performance of this game. And there were a lot of things left to be desired about Sporting's performance in this game.
Do you know why that is? It's because they're not good. They're not good. We should be happy with that win because it was great and it's exciting and it was fun to watch. But they're just not. They're just not good. And
there's something to be said for Zavagnin having an impact on that because in the past couple of years, they've been not good and losing.
Right.
Now they're not good and they win sometimes.
Well, that's because they were not good and they were trying to play like they were still good and they were no longer.
They were not good and tried to play like Pep Barcelona, right? And no. Yeah, that's just not going to work for y'all. Or who's there after Pep that's a PSG coach now? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Felipe Luis.
Yeah. They are a fun team to watch, and you can enjoy them, even while they're bad.
Yep.
And I think that's all we've really. I mean, not all we want. We want them to be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's terrible to be bad and terrible to watch. Like,
it's the cardinal sin. It's the worst.
If you're gonna be bad, at least be entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So there has been a significant improvement in them. As far as how the game went, I do think Sporting did, after, right after the goal, they started to get barraged pretty quickly through the middle for a good 10 to 15 minutes, kind of up to the half-hour mark.
It was amazing. It was amazing they did not concede, honestly.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, obviously there's the penalty at the half-hour mark.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just a number of times where they got played through fairly easily. And I do feel like it was right around the penalty time where they did at least start to collapse and set their mid-block shape a little tighter and a little narrower and just try to kind of close off that space. Now, that creates a separate problem, which is fullbacks In this
Yeah.
case, Kyrie Shelton and Tim Leibold being forced to defend wingers in space. I think it was very smart by Chris Armas to just send Calvin Harris of Leibold's side over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Leibold and Joaquin Fernandez over there, and you've got probably one of the fastest wingers in the league. Just send them over and over and over again, and they just got a lot of joy that way. I thought it was very pragmatic and honestly surprising to me that Zavagnin subbed out Fernandez at halftime and brought in Ian James, who was obviously a much faster center back. And you saw it immediately that James was able to at least run with Harris.
Right.
Gives up the penalty later on a mistake that 17-year-old center backs in their second pro game make, right? Like that kind of shit happens. But I that's something you would never have seen Peter Vermees do, ever.
No, not even
That
no,
never
no.
would have happened. And so I was pleasantly surprised by that. Like, look, we're getting burned up this side. We need to fix it. And then also making the switch in central midfield to move Basong over to left back to also provide more defensive cover for Harris on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most noteworthy thing that I saw when they made that change was, oh, it's a fullback.
Yeah.
This is a guy who actually knows how to play fullback.
Yeah.
Like, you immediately just saw a competent fullback, which is, I don't know, I've seen, like, defensively. I mean, as much as I like Logan Adenbe, he's not a very good 1v1 defender.
No.
Leibold, we all know about Tim Leibold. Kyrie Shelton is a winger playing fullback with the defensive instincts of a winger playing fullback. Like, Jake Davis, when he's over there, is kind of just a crazy person, just pressuring the shit out of anyone that comes over there with the ball. And to his credit, he did actually sort of shut down Wolf Zaha most of the game he was over there in Charlotte. But for the most part, this team does not have actual fullbacks, so it was really nice that last half hour just watching a natural defensive fullback who plays left back for his national team just come in and play fullback. Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, and he like you said, he looked competent, right? And it's not like Basong is a game changer really, either in the midfield or at left back. But it's nice to have a player with that level of versatility who you can get like a base level starting quality performance in two different positions on the field. That's one of those things that that you can build on, right? Because you have veteran quality depth at multiple positions, and you can say the same thing about Davis. And I don't think, to a point that was made in the discard, I don't think you can say that necessarily about Shelton anymore. When was the last time we saw Shelton play right wing, and do we think that he is a replacement level right winger at this point? And the answer is probably not. And so yeah, having those two guys who can play in the midfield or play out on the at the fullback position is it's really important. And it's been important, I think, an important part of the success this year, especially with them being in and out of the roster for various different reasons, and it's going to be even more important, to build that going forward, because I'm not really sold on either of them, frankly, being, the answer in the midfield for this team.
I'm not either.
A starting quality.
Yeah, and I think that's valid, and I think we'll get into that when we get into the roster conversation about like what does the future look like for this team and what is the best position for players. The thing, look, the conversation in the Discord was around, hey, if Kyrie is willing to take a big pay cut, just keep him around for value, right? I gotta be honest, man. Like, I'm not sure Kyrie's even a replacement level right back right now.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he is at all.
So it's like, if you've got one of those those multi tools, right? That can do like several things, but it's not like the Leatherman brand. It's like,
the
Big
kind
Lots brand.
Yeah, right.
So it
It's the kind
doesn't
you
do
get at
any.
Five Below.
The knife's kind of dull, and the pliers are a little loose,
Right.
and you know what I mean. The corkscrew is not. It doesn't really turn in. You know what I mean. Or the can opener, or whatever. You know, like cool. It can technically do all those things, but it
But
doesn't do any of them
you
very
you don't
well.
want to be stranded on a deserted island with it.
No,
That's for sure.
no,
If you do, you're screwed.
yeah. And again, I don't want to bag on Kyrie. I don't know. I mean, he's been injured a lot this year, and maybe he's still not fully healthy.
Hey, look,
And
guess what? That's also what happens when players get older.
Yeah.
And yet another reason it's okay. It should be very straightforward and pretty easy to find another person with that kind of skill set for
Right.
for a very affordable price.
Right. That's the thing. It's like I think it's just something that people are familiar with, and so it's like, hey, maybe there's some value in keeping him around, and I'm sorry, but that's the Peter Vermees way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And we need to move our way away from that.
Absolutely.
And, I love Kyrie. He's a great dude. He has been a member of this club for a long time, in 2 separate stints, and been a part of some really fun teams, and I'm not trying to shit on him or any of the other players. They need to improve that position.
Yeah.
It is abundantly clear. They have the only actual right back on the roster is always injured and not very good.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 2 are not right backs. So, it's just, at least Logan Ndenbe is a natural left back.
Yeah.
And I can quibble with some gaps in his game, but he is a left back that plays left back. And that's just
not only that. Like the thing about Ndenbe is even with the holes in his game, he has a measurable, quantifiable, positive impact on games when he plays, and it's super noticeable. And you can't really say that about Kyrie. So
no. Like if you look at Logan's passing numbers as a fullback, they're amazing.
Yep.
His defensively, he's okay to poor.
Sure.
But as a progressive passing and sort of goal creating fullback, he's very good, right? And comparatively, you look at someone like Tim Leibold, who's making almost $1 million and can't go more than 60 minutes in a match, and I don't know what he's doing. The problem is his bar chart looks good because he's so offensive, but I don't know. It doesn't ever. He doesn't actually turn the things he does into substantive things that help the team, if that makes any sense, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And yeah.
I don't know.
And
like his defending is. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And
so is Kyrie's, and Kyrie's is more I really watched him in this game because I was trying to understand how teams were so easily taking advantage of the wide areas against a set defense, right? It's not like just taking advantage of the wide areas while in transition. It's taking advantage of the wide areas in a set defense. Teams will progress, get into the 18-yard box that way. And so I'm watching what's happening, and Kyrie just does not have the defensive instincts of a defender.
No, he gets caught, and it's not a lot, right? It's not a long distance, but he gets caught too high all the time, and he's athletic enough that he can oftentimes make that recovery, but it still is happening. It's a recognition thing, and like you said, I think it's because he's not just naturally a defensive player.
Well, he very much focuses just on man marking.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what a defensive forward does, right?
Sure.
You just mark your guy high up the pitch, and then once it's released from that guy, it goes to what the defender behind you has to deal with it.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to pass guys off.
No.
So in a lot of circumstances,
or snap back once he does pass him.
right?
Yeah.
When he doesn't naturally. So as his player that he's marking moves away from his zone, he doesn't naturally cover the guy that rotated into that zone.
Right.
a lot. Like, this is a
Right.
problem a lot.
He
And
ball
good
watches.
attacking players, if they see 2 yards of space inside the final third of their opponent, that is like a ton of space. And you don't necessarily have to be touch tight to the guy, but you do have to deny the passing angle.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. He just stands there and waits for the pass to come up and then tries to square the guy.
Yep.
And that is not how you defend as a defender. You're supposed to be denying the ball. And he doesn't do that. He waits till the ball has arrived and then tries to deny the next action. And it's just... And this...
It's just not good defending.
This is not good defending.
That's
It's
just
not good
it.
defending.
Yeah.
And it's hard to show on a stat sheet because, like he does have a number of interceptions a game, but that is not the thing. You should be making the opponent go, I don't want to pass there.
Right.
Not inviting the pass and hoping to intercept it sometimes.
Exactly.
And I think that, anyway, it's an ongoing issue that this team has defensively, and it goes beyond it is structural. It is structural from a roster structure perspective.
Absolutely, yeah.
And an available person.
I mean, we're picking on Kyrie, but I mean, we can make similar arguments about the effectiveness of just about every other defender.
There's no reason
the
Kyrie
roster.
couldn't be on the bench and do Mason Toy's job. There's absolutely no reason he couldn't do that.
Sure.
But they
makes
they
too
brought
much
in
money.
Mason Toy. They brought in Mason Toy to do that job because
Right.
Kyrie has to play right back.
Yeah. Because he was on the roster.
Well,
And the roster had very limited flexibility in the offseason,
Right.
and so we
Yeah. I mean, it had enough flexibility to sign a fullback, man.
they
We
just didn't
we
sign the
litigated
right
this
one.
pretty heavily with the whole Jan Jurčić don't have an international roster spot shit, right? Like, trust me, we litigated this enough. That was a significant error. Other thing that I noticed, and I hope this improves with time, Shoppy is still not really connecting with where to be when the team gets forward.
Yeah.
Like, he's just always seems to be in the wrong spot for where his opponents want to pass to. Now, to be fair to Shoppy, in a lot of circumstances, he's finding pockets of space, but maybe he's not necessarily noting where his teammates are and how, whether they're on their dominant foot, can they actually get the ball to that area. There was a number of times where, and Tommy was great in this game, as you noted earlier. He was very, very bright. He was very active. He was progressing the ball a lot up the left and not getting too narrow, which is nice, although he does obviously invert on the play that he scores on.
He wasn't getting very deep either. Just
Yeah, well,
I mean,
yeah. But nobody was, really. Like, I mean, it's just kind of... But the couple times I noted a couple times where they were progressing the ball well up the left, and Shoppy's making the far post run, and both times he went to the exact wrong spot for where the pass was going to be. Yeah. And both times, had he been in the right spot, it would have been a really nice shot, right? So it's like, I hope this improves with time and rapport. And you're shaking your head no. You just don't. You just think it's a Shoppy.
I mean, I do. He is at his age, and given his playing history, I think that this is just kind of probably the player that he is. So, I don't, when we talk about roster construction, this is not a starting level player for an MLS Cup team.
No, I would agree with that. Right.
And so, that's not to say he's a bad player.
Is Eric Tommy one?
I mean, I don't think so, personally. I think Tommy has a lot of great qualities, but he's too narrow in the amount of good things that he can do. He's too disconnected from his teammates, and he's not consistent enough, I think so.
I mean, he's well on his way to his third straight season of double-digit goal contributions. For
Yeah,
the team.
I realize that. Like his
Now,
numbers
granted,
are
this
good.
team has not been very good any of those
Right,
seasons
right.
either. So,
I mean, and without him, like, the team loses on Friday, right? I mean, that he he had a goal and assist, and he was integral in making those two goals happen. And but I don't, you know, my answer is no.
Okay, we'll get to the roster conversation here in a second. But yeah, I just wondered what your thoughts were on it. I'm less definitive than you are about it. It's more of a depends on the circumstance kind of situation, right. And part of it also is his age as well, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking
Absolutely.
about a guy that's going to be 31 before the season is over, so that does play into it. But if you look at his bar chart and his graphic viz and FB ref, it's not bad. I mean, it's not like best player in the league. Player. But it's. I mean, there are max TAM players.
You said starting quality. Like, well, I don't think he's a starter.
I bet there are other starting. Like, I don't know that he's significantly worse than Paul Rothrock that we're going to see play left wing for Seattle this weekekend. Right? Like, I think.
But how old is Rothrock?
Starts every week for Seattle.
But how old is Rothrock, and how much money does he make? Is he really? No, he's not. No way.
He's been in their system forever.
I'm calling cap on that there, Mr. Drew Vanderbilt.
26. He's 26. Okay. He'll be 27 this year.
Okay. Barely better.
He's way better, actually, than Paul Rothrock by the numbers. Like, I'm looking. You need to look at the comp between the two. But I'm just saying that. Yeah, I think you would like to improve at that position if you could. But as we'll discuss later, it's not as simple as just saying, don't sign this guy, sign somebody else better, right? Like,
absolutely.
That's not a simple thing. This is a different conversation than Kyrie Shelton. Yep. I think that there's a lot more upside at Kyrie Shelton's position for less money than they're paying Kyrie Shelton.
Yep.
Than there is at Eric Tommy's position for less money than they're paying Eric Tommy, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So I think that there is something to be said about, the discussing, what, again, the details, the devil is in the details of him sticking around. I do think that he is a useful player on this team. He's obviously a leader in the locker room. The players respect him. Anyway, we'll get to this here in a second.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I really wanted to talk about, I did briefly discuss this. Mason Toye, really good sort of target man late in the game, hoof the ball up to him, let him bother some center backs. Absolutely has a go from a narrow angle.
Yeah,
like he ripped that fucking thing, dude. I was like, whoa, okay. Almost, yeah. I mean, made Hagen make a save and then earn a corner kick. But it's been a minute. I don't think Sporting's had a target man like this maybe since like CJ.
No, man, the big hurt, Eric Hurtado.
Yeah, but Hurtado, Hurtado was, he was a good hold-up player, but he couldn't win aerials like Mason Toye can.
And Mason Toye is faster too, and so
he's taller, faster, and probably as strong, if not stronger. So he's kind of. I don't want to compare him to Pat Ajimong. He's not quite like that, but he's of that ilk for sure. And it was nice to just see him come on and just be a presence for them to hoof the ball into, and then sort of see out the game. Because I think that bleeds into my second point, which was after, they give up the penalty, which was bad, but even for the 10 minutes prior to that, and then after the penalty, absolutely shut the game down. And usually they're just at a low block hoping not to give up a goal.
Yeah.
And this was a very professional sort of finish the game out and win kind of situation that I was warmed by.
Well, and that's the tactical decisions and the tactical substitutes made by Zavagnin are a thing that makes that happen, right? You can't just say you can't just throw on a third center back and say, well, we're just going to, bunker in the penalty box and try and see out the game for 10 minutes. If you do that, good teams will, they'll batter you until something happens, until you make a mistake, until they get a shot off. But when you have a player like Toye on the field, you can't, Colorado couldn't sell all out, right? Like they had to honor that player and his speed and his willingness to make runs. And
And especially with Sporting's long ball distribution, both
Yep.
from Pulskamp and from like Jansen Miller. They had guys who would send it long into his feet and were good at it. And that made it difficult for Colorado to press their numbers forward the way that they would like. Which leads me to the other key point. Second assist of the year for John Pulskamp. Absolutely beautiful drop side volley. Like right onto to Eric Tommy's chest. A good 75, 80 yards away.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. Tommy is the highlight reel here. Like what he does on this play is the highlight, right? This is like some Messi level shit that he did, where chesting it down on the turn, like turning the guy as he chests down a 75, 80 yard ball in the air, and then splits two guys, dribbles around, and then he does, like, I said this in the Discord at the time, as soon as he got it on his right foot past Awazium, you know it's goal. It's a goal. Like, he's curving it in that inside that far post with his right foot. Like, he scored too many goals like this. We've seen it. But still, just an insane ball from Pulskamp to put it on him like that, and then Tommy does the rest, and it was beautiful, like beautiful goal.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and I think that his body control and his positioning while he had the ball at his feet, because there were three Colorado defenders there, and his path on the dribble was such that he forced them to make a choice to not foul him. Right? It was like they were like holding up their arms to like stay out of the way and not clip him, because he was really using his body to sort of shield the ball and to get him into a position where he could shoot. And it was super, super impressive. And man, I already told you, I love John Pulskamp, and that's like there's no other goalkeeper in the league.
Say, I'm trying to think of who does that.
Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. He leads in goal kick length, by a considerable margin, and he has really all season. And I think that, I hate to keep harping on it, but I don't know that that's something that we would have seen from Peter Vermes. And so that's just another one of those things that that is a Zavagnin thing. We have to, at this point, I think, give Zavagnin credit for that, and just realizing that, okay, this is a weapon that my team has, and even if it goes against, my aesthetic vision of soccer, it works, and we're going to use it.
John Mueller wrote a very cool article for The Guardian that I think published today about how much Minnesota United focuses on set pieces.
Yeah.
And mainly sort of compared it to other lower budget teams in other leagues, Brentford and things like that have focused on getting maximum value out of set plays, because when you are at a talent deficit, it is a way to cause problems for an opponent and get more out of the limited talent you have. Also, I think when you're spending at the bottom of the league in salary, passing through your midfield becomes less important because you don't have those passers anyway.
Amen.
So I mean, I know for a lot of people, they're like, just bang it into the dice zone is a little bit boring, but you can't argue results. I mean, Minnesota scored their third. They have their third straight game with a goal from a long throw. Sporting has started to employ long throws. You're starting to see Manu take even deeper free kicks now and just loop it into the box.
Yep.
They're starting to go, hey, look, we're probably going to be at a talent deficit to a lot of teams. Let's find ways to make it problematic for our opponents, and that's just a pragmatic way to go about it. Like,
it is. And to that end, like, that Sporting is playing, they're one of the league leaders in long balls, but they're also one of the league leaders in drawing fouls. And so, like, when you don't have the talent, you hoof it up there to Shoppy and Manu and let them draw a foul, and then you get you get the rest of your squad up where they need to be, and you have a set
It's like
piece.
when you're playing FM24 and you click on play for set pieces and play it long.
Right.
Like, just put those two things on there and then have a lot of good design set piece plays and then put it into the mixer and make problems for the opponent to defend. No opponent wants to defend the ball inside their 18. They don't want that. They don't want that happening. And so the more times you can put the ball in there in chaotic situations, the better. And it is something that people have used against Sporting Kansas City to significant effect for many years, because Peter Vermes' teams were not set up to deal with those types of situations. So to see sort of that flip and then kind of go the other direction with it is kind of interesting to me, but also I think extremely pragmatic and just taking what you can get. Like, this is, look, I would love to see the most free flowing, 2025 Liverpool version of an offense out on the field, but that's not, those aren't the players we're dealing with, and it's not the budget this team has, and it's just, that's probably never going to be their lot in life when it comes with 30 teams in this league now, and with a number of teams willing to spend at the level that they are. But there are ways for you to develop a team that is fun to watch, that is good at certain things that you can count on, that can get them results. And listen, if the ball goes in the net more times than the opponent, the fans are going to be happy.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it. And so if you focus on that, and the best ways to do that, I think you're gonna be doing yourself the best service you possibly can. All right, let's move to Tactical Corner, where we talk a little bit about how this team is currently being utilized, where the most pressing needs are, and whether that would enable, I guess at some level, the team to go in a slightly different direction with how they're utilizing their players. If you look at the way that Zavagnin has them set up right now, it is in a very narrow 4-3-3 that looks to try to force play wide, force the opponent play wide, and that is the lowest level of risk for them to give up chances. Then sort of what Vermes was doing, which was really spreading them out, like spreading the team out, playing very wide themselves, and offering too much space to play in between them defensively, with players who just weren't very good at covering those angles and getting played through the middle of the park. So Zavagnin has sort of narrowed them up quite a bit, and has looked to, I think, try to stay in games and win them late.
Yeah.
That, I think, has been sort of the mindset.
Yep, I think that's fair.
And, bring on attacking quality at the end. Mm-hmm. The bench is deepest on the attacking part of the field. So you bring in some attacking players, you try to shift the game and score at the end. And I think that, that's a reasonable, looking at this personnel grouping, that's a reasonable way to do it. But as I noted earlier, it creates a very significant amount of stress on wide defense. And this team is, for as bad as it is defending centrally where there are gaps, it is almost as bad defending width, or defending 1v1 attackers coming from wide. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, the only benefit they have is they do have the central defenders when they're set that can tend to cut out plays if they try to come in towards them. So that is the risk that Zavagnin's taking, saying, yeah, I know my fullbacks aren't great, but there's help behind them. Whereas
he has a central defender, and he has a Sasquatch playing goalkeeper. So
exactly,
and
a six who is really a center back. So that's a separate conversation
absolutely.
We're going to talk about too.
Yep.
They really have a third center back most of the time when they're in their low block shape. So there's enough central cover that even if that guy gets skinned, you're playing the odds that there's enough help behind that will keep the ball from going in the goal.
Yep.
Whereas if you're playing wide and people cut through the middle, now you have an opponent running down the middle centrally to a retreating back line with options to pass wide or go central, and that's just recipe for disaster, right?
Yep.
So, like, I understand why he has done this. The question is this the way to set up this team long term? Or if you're going to continue playing this way, is fullback really the most important area on the field to upgrade right now?
Yeah, I mean, I it's such a difficult question because we don't know what's going to happen next year, right? I mean, we don't know who the coach is going to be. We don't know. Um, so I don't know that I would say fullback is the most important position. Is definitely one of the top three. I think the top three are fullback and central midfield, and I still think that the team needs um, to upgrade at the right wing spot as well.
I would agree with you. And what I think is interesting is if you look at both, I think both. Well, when Joe Lowry did his version for Packfield, he was just said, "What is Sporting's most glaring need? Talent." Like that's and he's not wrong. He's really not wrong. Like they do need to add some talent, pretty much on every line.
Yeah.
But I think Bogert had sort of has looked at the six and center back as being the most important areas, and I can sort of understand what he's saying, because if you have to play so narrow to protect those players who can't cover that space on their own, then maybe you do need some upgrades in those positions. But additionally, I have questions as to whether or not all those players are employed in the best way. And so, like, this is where I think you just sort of very quickly alluded to. The fact that there's no chief soccer officer or permanent head coach in place makes this extremely difficult, because if that guy or woman that goes into either of those roles is an ideologue about the formation they want to play and how they want to play soccer, that is going to make an impact on how you build this roster. If it's more of a Thomas Frank, let me see what you got and I'll figure it out kind of guy, then maybe it's not as big of a deal. Similarly with the chief soccer officer, if it's more like, these are the players I can sign, let me build a game model around it,
Yeah.
it has a different impact. And I think that this is what makes this conversation so difficult, is like, what's the most important area? I think we can agree central midfield, fullback, they're going to have to sign 2 to 3 more center backs either now or in the offseason regardless, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
those are need areas that are going to have to be filled regardless. Right winger, 100%. Like, those are all areas that need to be filled. But if you look at, like, what's the biggest priority right now, it's so hard to define, because we don't know what the direction of this team is. Like, if you're asking if Drew's the head coach or the chief soccer officer of this team, any game model I come up with includes Jacob Bartlett playing in the middle of a back three.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is not a single pivot six. As much as we have lauded the way that he has come in as a 19-year-old and sort of managed that position as best he can, he plays in a very conservative position defensively. That means that when there are passes centrally towards, like, the top of the D, he's too far away from them to press them. And and if you look at his numbers, they're all like sort of clearances and interceptions. That's what center backs do.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think of him as sort of a libero, sort of like sweeper type middle center back that can ping long balls from that position or range forward from time to time as needed. Fits his skill set a little bit more, and also doesn't ask him sometimes to be in zone 14.
Yeah. You don't want that.
It's not the right use of his skills, I don't think.
No.
And so, like, if I'm looking at 19-year-old that I want to, like, develop and either sell on or make a prime component of our team for the next 10 years, I want to put him in the place where his skills are best utilized. And right now it's a center back. And I'm a little confused as to why they don't make this move already. Like I saw that, you know, Carrie mentioned sort of positionally they did it a little bit in the second half against Charlotte. I don't think they need to change the personnel that much for them to just move him back there into a back three and change the positional responsibilities of the midfielder slightly.
I just think that they don't have anybody else who can play the defensive midfield role as well as he can. I think that really is probably what it boils down to, because
you need cover for Manu.
Yeah,
like Manu
would you
Manu's
stick
a
in
poor
there?
defender.
No
Yeah. For all of Manu's positives, and I do think he is a deeper midfielder than a traditional like sort of central attacking midfielder, right?
Yeah.
I don't think putting him at the 10 is necessarily the best use of his skills, but he is also a minus defender, right?
Yeah.
So like he's like Ricky Pooch levels of useless defensively. And so
I don't know about that, but okay.
You should look at it. You should look at his numbers. I looked at him. We're prepared for the pod. It's not good. It's not. he averages like a tackle a game, dude. Like it's pretty bad. For a guy playing basically as an advanced central midfielder, it's not very good.
Yeah.
His pressure's not that great either. He just runs around a lot. You know what I mean? Like I am in agreement that they need someone defensively responsible next to him, but it's more of a 6'8" hybrid, right? It's not really an anchor man. It's not really like if they had like they've got at San Diego they've got Godoy playing that role,
yeah,
right? Like a player like that who is a consistent ball winner but also useful in the attacking half of the field. And I think for a long time we thought Jake Davis might be that guy, and I don't know that he is.
No, I don't think he is. I think he likes to tackle. He's maybe at a slightly above average tackler, but I don't think that he is like he's not. In order to do that job, like you have to relish in being an enforcer, right? Like you have to. That's your job. Jake Davis likes to go forward, and he likes to get into the box, and he likes to roam, and I think that is that's something that detracts from that position. And you know, I mean, I would love to see the team sort of employ somebody with a little bit more destroyer tendencies. They've just never had that player other than Roger Espinosa, who played that as an 8, and that's you can't go chasing that player. Like you're not going to find another player like that necessarily, and so it really comes down, I think, and you know, this sort of gets I think to the meat of the issue is what formation are you going to play, right? Like if you want to make Bartlett a center back and play with in a 2 center back system, then all of a sudden, you know, a defensive midfielder rises to the absolute top of the priority list, because you got to have somebody to do that job. And
I mean,
if
you
not,
could say, you could also say Nemanja Radia is not going to be with his team next year, right? Like I think we're all fairly confident in that fact. And Jacob Bartlett is the only 6 you have. Like we're going to talk about this when we get to the preview. Bartlett is out due to yellow card suspension.
Okay.
The fuck they going to do in this game, right? So like, there's something to be said for even if you're not going to a back 3, they need a legit 6 either way, right? Yeah. They need someone who can play that position and can play it effectively. And even if it's a really defensive setup with Bartlett and that player in a double pivot, whatever, you need to have that type of player regardless. So this is actually where I can kind of get to Tom Bogert's line of thinking, which is the only 6 of any value that you have on this team right now is a 19-year-old in his first pro season.
Yeah.
The other one that you sign for ridiculous amounts of money can't stay on the field and is probably gone in the offseason anyway. So that's why I'm saying it's like this sort of CDM sort of 6'8" kind of thing. It becomes increasingly more and more necessary, especially because it allows you to move Zoran Basong over to left back, where he is I think, a better player and a more useful player with Logan Adembe. It allows it. You spell Basong into midfield if you need to for games. It's great to have that flexibility, but I think he's more useful on the left side of the defense. It allows you to either rotate Jake at right back or rotate him into games and get him. I think that competition will be good for him. Think about how, like, at the beginning of this season, like, Jake is the one doing all the media availability. He's doing all the stuff, and everybody was so excited about Jake Davis. And this is no slight on Jake. He's not played that well this year. He's been injured a lot, but this has not been a great season for him. And outside of some individual performances that were decent, he has done some boneheaded shit too.
Yeah.
And he's getting to the point with his experience where we need to stop seeing so much boneheaded shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, the boneheaded shit was fine when he was a rookie getting all of his minutes at right back, which is a position he didn't know. And it's like, now things are different now. We're 3 years in now. And
yeah, he should be a veteran leader, right? He should be showing veteran leadership, and you don't see that enough, all right? And I think that he maybe tried too hard at the beginning of the season. I kind of got that impression that he was maybe a little high on his own supply and was trying to do too much. You don't have to do too much. All you gotta do is just go out there and do your job. And I think that the way that the season unfolded and the fact that he had to play so much right back was probably not ideal for him, but tough shit, right? You're a professional, and you gotta rise to the occasion, and your team needs you. And
the reality is, if this team is meant to be a high quality trophy contending team, just like, and I got to be honest, I think of all the players we've talked about, Zoran Basong has probably been the best of them this year as far as consistency and quality of performance. Even then, like, if you are relying on the quality of Zoran Basong or Jake Davis to be, like, driving your midfield, like, I'm sorry, like let's, like, LAFC, they're not great in the table right now because they're like 4 games behind due to Club World Cup, but they have Mark Delgado, Tim Tillman, and Igor Jesus. Like, those guys are just so far beyond Jake Davis's quality. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be a dick about it, but they are.
Yeah, and
he needs to raise his level to that level if he wants to be starting for a team that's competing for stuff. And so I think the team needs to be honest with themselves about that and go, we're going to bring in some players to compete for these minutes. Because right now, like, I think we're going to see a lot of Memo Rodriguez on Sunday or Saturday.
That's not ideal.
No. And so regardless of whether Jake's healthy or on a suspension or whatever situation, or Zoran's an international duty, or the other things that have come in that have created some of these problems, Radia being injured most of the season, like, all of these things are sort of conspiring to show us this. But also, even when all those guys are healthy, are you like, man, this midfield's good?
No. No, and that's been one of the frustrating things this year is that I think that many of us were expecting Jake Davis to take a step forward and continue his development, and that really didn't happen. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we were like, as soon as we get a ball winner in midfield, everything's going to be a lot better. And he has not been able to have enough impactful minutes in the center of the field to prove that statement right.
He seems to win the ball better as a fullback than he does as a midfielder.
Yeah, it's easier to key in on one guy and win the ball. That's all you have to worry about, right?
And you've got the sideline, taking half the field away, right? Like, it's an easier position to play defensively, and like, Jake's got to really improve his game reading and his anticipation and his understanding and not going late into stuff. right?
You
Like
can't, you can't do that on the bench. Like whether you're injured or whether you're suspended, you or not fit, that's a skill you cannot improve on the bench.
100%.
So
So
I think absolutely center midfield it has to be like I said, like it's definitely in the top three for me. Absolutely.
yeah, obviously fullback, right back specifically, but I think fullback in general could be improved.
Sure.
Depending on how much money Logan Adenbe wants this offseason. Like there's definitely a break point for me on that. Like if he wants significantly more than this 500 grand that he's making now, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Similarly with the conversation around Eric Tommy, I, we covered some of this already, so I'm not going to restate all of it. But the guy does have value.
Absolutely. He's a good player.
He's a good player. He's a veteran with leadership capabilities that's respected in the locker room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the things we already said. He's making a lot of money this year because it was a performance triggered option, right? And I think that was always in his contract as something that had he hit certain performance measurements, he was going to get this big final year of his deal. And good, he earned it. Like the guy, it has been a very good contributing player to this team. His case is hurt by the fact the team has been poor while he's been contributing, but he has been contributing fairly significantly to this team. I think that there is kind of if he's in the around $1 million range, kind of where Johnny Russell was when he was at 32 years old and got his last deal, I can kind of get behind that. I think if it's a 1+1 or even a 2+1 at about $1 million a year, I'm not totally. I don't think that that's a terrible choice for them to make. Mainly because there's some continuity there. He is a quality player you can bring off the bench or start, 20 times a year. That combined with a Daniel Shalhoub and with a Manu Garcia and with a Dejan Joveljic, you do have a base of quality there that I think is useful, that then you can add another starting quality winger on top of and actually have a pretty formidable like goal scoring and goal creating group from that, right? And especially depending on what Santi Munoz's purchase option is and what that puts him at as far as investment is concerned. I think you put all those things together and they have a number of options up front that I'm comfortable with. So I think that the context is going to matter when it comes to Tommy.
So when if you were advocating for him to be re-signed and play for the team at a number you're comfortable with, where do you envision him playing?
Well, that's I think the thing with Tommy is that he can play a number of positions and do so semi-effectively. I do, like we've discussed a lot this year, I do have concerns about him playing in roles where he gets in the way of other players. For whatever reason, and part of this is just like, prisoner of the moment kind of stuff. But when he played against Colorado, for the most part, he stayed wide. He did not get in Manu's way. And when he did score the goal was the one time he inverted, but he was on the ball, right? Like it was not a deal where he was trying to receive in the same pockets. I also feel like Manu has started to play a lot deeper, which has kind of helped Tommy not, you know what I mean? Like there's more space for Tommy to play in. And I think that's more as Manu's become more aware of his game. And Manu is the type of player that will adapt to his teammates and kind of find the places where they're at so that he can find pockets and then play them in. So I think all of that is happening. It's either on the left, but again, you're asking like where I would play him. I would play this team in a 3-4-2-1, and he would be one of the two attacking mids. That's what I would do. If you're asking Drew how he would set this team up, they'd be in a 3-4-2-1. I would sign a really good ball winner to be alongside Manu in a double pivot. I'd have Bartlett in the middle of the back three, Volader or whoever center back you sign as the left center back. Ian James. Let Ian James play left center back and let him develop. Get some legitimate wing backs. I think Shoppy could play wing back. I think he actually might be useful as just a wing back ball progressor. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
And Tommy would be one of the 210s underneath Joveljic. That's how I would use him.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be fine with that.
Okay.
I think that's very similar to what I have proposed. I would have just slotted in, Santi Munoz instead of Tommy, but Tommy.
How about Munoz and Tommy?
Right. I
And
mean,
then Shallowy subs in sometimes.
Sure, absolutely. Like absolutely. That makes the best use of the talent that's on the field currently, and gets players in the general parts of the field where they can make the most impact, I think.
Yeah. I also think that Kyrie would be better as a wingback. I think just a lot of their wide defending issues are created by playing in a back four and having fullbacks who are poor 1v1 play 1v1 defense.
Yeah, absolutely. The nightmare is a long switch and watching Tim Leibold, who is so narrow that he is
in the midfield
touching arms with a center back, try and sprint out there to just to provide token pressure. It's a huge problem.
Right. I mean, it's okay to be that narrow if you see the switch and close.
Right.
But the Leibold is.
He doesn't have the juice to do it.
No.
I don't know if he ever did.
Well, you know what's interesting with Leibold is his top speed isn't bad, but man, watching him attempt to accelerate looks like me trying to get out of my chair in the morning. Right. It's God, dude, just him trying to get his legs moving. Right. And he's only 31. It's not like he's really old.
I got bad news for you, Timmy. I mean, it gets a lot worse, man. I told my wife, I feel like the Tin Man every morning. I gotta,
I don't know what it is, but it pains me to watch him try to accelerate. Once he gets up to speed, he's fine. But man, but he also has very poor stamina. His stamina is not good, and it's just anyway. We've been through this on Leibold.
Yep.
It's more. But I think that there are a number of things they could do with that type of setup that would be useful, and they can play it narrowly if they want to. They can tuck their wingbacks in.
Sure.
Nazi does that all the time.
Yep.
You can play it narrow where it sort of plays like a 3-2-2-1 kind of thing, right? You can do that if you want to. But I just think that it's a better way to utilize the strengths of some of the players that are going to be around for a while, and then you can add on to that in key positions to improve it.
It's also a good way to get the most out of your younger players, theoretically, and I mean that's good for the performance.
I mean,
of the
they got
team,
Bartlett sitting
but
deep
also,
anyway, so he does his defensive positioning is so deep regardless. They're almost playing in a 5-4-1 when they're in their low block anyway. Just stop asking him to come up to the fucking zone 14 in possession.
I mean, yeah. Well, there are times when he presses up there too, and I know. I've made it clear that I do not like that, and that is a coaching thing for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I think that at some point you gotta decide what that guy is, right, for your team. And if you want to make him a hybrid, then fine. But I think you have to kind of coach him a little bit more smoothly through those transitions. And because right now he's as you've mentioned, he's kind of lost sometimes.
I'm wondering a little bit if some of the situation with him is related to one, no other legitimate six being available to play, and two, just how Peter Vermees saw him as a player.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. He also he's an athletic guy.
There's no fucking way Peter Vermees is going into season going 3-4-2-1. No way. No fucking way.
That's what I said at the beginning, Drew. I mean, it's hard to tell what is what are the remnants of what that guy wanted, and it's just really difficult to tell what the actual
that's the thing.
But
Bartlett played 8 games. I think Radia came in and played 1 or 2 at the 6, but Radia was playing as an 8.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, and Bartlett was playing the 6 even the Champions Cup games against Miami, and So like he had played what 8 games at the 6 or 7 games at the 6 before Zavagnin took over. Radia gets hurt. What other options do you have?
Right. Yeah, and like I don't dislike him at the 6 as much as I think you do, but the fact remains is that he's not a ball winner.
I
And
don't dislike him.
You got to
I
have
just
somebody.
But here's the thing, like I don't dislike him at the 6. I dislike him as a single pivot 6.
Sure.
Because he is not a good enough on the carpet progressive passer to be useful in that position.
Yeah.
So basically all he's doing is clearing and intercepting the ball.
Which is what center backs do.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
So like if his value is clearing and intercepting the ball and hitting long switches, what the fuck does he need to be in the midfield to do that for?
Yeah.
Long diagonals are not things that you need your single pivot 6 to be doing. And so like I'm like even in San Diego, Godoy sort of shades back so that they're what's the guy's name? Cherkasov or something like that. I don't know. I forget how you pronounce his last name.
I like that one. Let's go with that. Jerk us off. It sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Hold on. Whoa. we are fairly NSFW on this podcast, but not quite that far down that road. Anyway, yeah. They have a ball winner deep there so that their passing 6 can do his progressive passing stuff, right? And just like if you want Bartlett to be a very sort of defensive-minded sort of sweeper 6, you still need someone who can progress the ball. And if that means bringing Manu Garcia all the way back there, I don't know that that's the best plan. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not sure Bartlett can do that job either. So the sweeper job. So
right. So like,
yeah.
Again, we're like, what is he?
Yeah, it's a problem.
He looks like a center back playing the 6.
Yeah, I'm coming around to your way of thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, and this is not a bag on Bartlett thing. I really like him as a player. I think he is going to be a good player for this team for a while. I just think he's miscast at the current point in time. And I think there are ways to cast some of these players you expect to be around for a while more effectively and then fill the holes as opposed to putting them into holes to fill because you don't have anybody else, right? And I think that's sort of the mindset I'm coming around to is like, what are the most important roles to fill right now? They're the ones that allow us to put the players that are going to be here for the next 3 or 4 years in the roles that are best fit for them. And I think that might be more right back for Jake Davis, and I think that might be center back for Jacob Bartlett. And which means central midfield 6'8" kind of guys become really important, and they can probably not focus on fullback right away and just play with wingbacks if they do that.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't see them doing this. Like I don't know that I believe that that's what they're going to do. I think they might focus on a legitimate fullback as opposed to what they have and keep doing what they're doing. Who knows?
I mean, I can envision a future.
Maybe that might be Peter Vermees PTSD though. That might be Peter Vermees PTSD.
I mean, I can envision a future where Jake Davis gets a string of games at in the midfield and and progresses in a way that makes that a defensible way to go. But the problem is that at this point, key teams any team is going to look and say, we know what Sporting Kansas City is going to try and do. We're going to look at who their important players are, and that's Manu Garcia. They can't barely even make it out of their own half of the field without that guy on the ball, and they're going to key in on him. And we've discussed in the past how the deeper Ricky Puig has had to drop for the Galaxy, the less effective he has become. And if you just nail Manu back and task him with doing the defending, which we've already said he's not great at doing, and strictly ball progression through build out, you're not utilizing all of his talents either. And so you got to have somebody in the midfield who is a partner, right? Who can partner with Manu and find ways to unlock defenses, at least to progress to zone 14, and to then allow Manu to be on the ball where he's most dangerous. So I mean, I like my yeah. We'll just leave it at that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you're leaving too much on that one player, and God forbid he get injured, right?
Right. For sure. I mean, yeah, they're totally hosed if he gets hurt. I mean, it's just going to be Eric Tommy
Yeah,
carrying the ball.
dribbling.
Why are you doing all that dribbling?
Sometimes it works.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's why he does it.
I will say this: as much as I've bagged on Jake Davis, like if you look at his stat radar, it's actually pretty good.
He's not terrible, right? I don't think he's the greatest at sort of being a midfield connector with his passing. I don't think he has the greatest passing range, but he's active and he's not afraid to make runs out of midfield, which is something that I really appreciate. Like, he has value in the central midfield. He just he's not had a long enough run of games there to really underline that.
Well, and what's weird is, like, if you look at his numbers, like his tackles per 90 are even, for fullbacks or for central mids are, 75th to 80th percentile. So he's had about 2.5 tackles, 1 per 90, which is not too bad. But his percentage of dribblers tackled is extremely low. So I think that that's one of those things where he's aggregating a total number of tackles that looks okay, but he's getting into tackles a lot that he loses.
Yeah.
And I think that is maybe the sort of nuance that is hard to see sometimes in these bar charts is like where exactly is he at? And you got to look a little bit deeper. And I'm like, these numbers popped out to me, and then when I looked at the sort of the radar, and it's got actually percentage of dribblers tackled, and it's really low. So he's like 8th percentile in percentage of dribblers tackled, and I think that kind of highlights the thing is he takes a lot of swings. Right. And
he's a very active player. That's that's what the previous regime really emphasized.
Right.
You got to run around a lot. You got to run around a lot. Be active.
Effectiveness is also important, right? And
allegedly.
Yeah, for sure. So, we need to get his efficiency up a little bit for me to feel more comfortable about him being in that role regularly.
Completely agree.
All this was probably a bunch of useless conjecture because there's no chief soccer officer, there's no permanent head coach, and everything we're saying is probably just, they're probably just going to sign whoever they can and move on. I mean, to the point that Joe Lowry made in Backheel today, this team needs talent on every line. I'm not sure I'm going to be upset with them with any position that they add talent to, except center forward.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Let's see what they do, right? I mean, anyone who's scratching their heads about who they signed is not paying attention to the fact that, one, there's a lot more to happen in the offseason, and two, there's, Mike Burns is basically the guy driving the bus by himself right now. So we're kind of in a position where we'll just have to see what happens and what they're able to get across the line. Let's move on to potpourri, just like your favorite Jeopardy category. We got, I guess one topic today in and around the Sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere, which is everyone's favorite topic to bitch about, the U.S. men's national team. They get bounced by Mexico.
I don't understand why people are so upset. Like, it was like we played.
That's their default position, Cody.
We played Mexico's best squad, and we did it with our.
You could quibble that Tecatito Corona wasn't there, but yeah, I mean we're on the margins, yeah, for sure.
Oh, I mean, come on, what did they expect? I don't know. It's annoying.
It's the default position of U.S. men's national team social media to be mad about things, especially Mexico. Like, you never want to lose to Mexico, right?
Right.
I think I'm not going to spend a ton of time diving into this because candidly, pretty much everything I think about this, Greg Velasquez says on Scuffed. So just go listen to Scuffed. I had some takes that I was going to bring to this one, and I listened to Scuffed today. I'm like, Greg said all the things I thought. So I'm just kind of
He's the GOAT, man.
He is the GOAT. But I do feel vindicated that someone who I respect the opinion of had the exact same takes I did about several of the situations, which were, why are we so worried about some of these players? None of them are going to be on the World Cup team anyway.
Yeah.
And the ones that are going to be on the World Cup team who are challenging to be starters on the World Cup team, like Malik Tillman, had a pretty poor game, and that should be the discussion more than, fucking Diego Luna being loose with the ball. Whatever, man. It's the first time Luna's ever played a game at that level. He probably learned a lot from that shit, and I'm sure he'll be better in the future. But if Diego Luna is in the starting lineup in the first game of the World Cup, I'll be really surprised. He's not displacing Christian Pulisic or Tim Weah. Okay, that's not happening.
If that happens, either we're fucked or he's made the leap, or
Celta de Vigo signed him and he just went 20 and 10 for them, right?
Right.
That's the latest rumor, by the way, that they're apparently in for Luna.
I like that.
I mean, just is very, very early rumors about their interest. But yeah, I think realistically, Chris Richards played great, looked like a starting center back.
That Ryan Rosenblatt blue skied that, if that's the only thing that comes out of the whole Gold Cup is that Chris Richards asserts himself as a team leader and as the best center back on the team. If that's what we get out of this Gold Cup run, then that is enough.
Cool.
That is enough, because that's what the team needs, that center back performance, because Tim Ream, he's a good player, but he's 40 years old, man.
He's 37. Calm down. I think you need to get your head around the fact that Tim Ream may be starting next to Chris Richards at the World Cup. That's a high possibility.
I'm totally expecting that to be the case. There's no other person on the horizon that I've seen that can compete for that position. So that would not surprise me in the least.
I mean, one of the things that got highlighted, was the goal that Raul Jimenez scored, the first one.
That's a great goal. That was
an
really,
insane
really great goal.
And I'm having a bit of a go at Mark Kapfer in the Discord about it, because he's like, well, that's what happens when you have a slow center back rotate. I was like, first of all, Tim Ream is not even close to the problem on that play. No. Tyler Adams going to almost fucking half field to press nobody is the problem on that play, which Greg Velasquez very, very succinctly sort of breaks down when they talk about the goal. But Tim Ream gets goal side of him, stays on his shoulder so he can't be turned, and puts two legs out in front of the ball. There is a window exactly a ball width for that thing to go in, and that's where Jimenez hit it. What do you want? Anyway, I thought, for all things considered, Ream defended that about as well as he could. I mean, not perfectly. If he's an inch further over, he blocks it completely, as opposed to it just ricocheting off his shin and going in. But Jesus Christ, man. The reason that went in was not because Tim Ream is old and slow. That was just an insane goal by Raul Jimenez. Yeah, and also Tim Ream has been slow since he was 27. Okay, this is not true. New. This is not a new revelation.
I mean, I was more concerned with the team's inability to even get out of their defensive half for the entire first half, and that's pretty disappointing, honestly. Not that I expect them to be able to pull off intricate build out patterns and that sort of thing, because I don't. But you would expect that with Ajiman and Tillman up, allegedly up top, that they would be able to, between the two of them, win some balls and at least progress the ball that way. And that they very often were not able to do that. And I think that that a lot of the, I don't know, I think it was just the team setup, I don't think was really lent itself to a good performance. And I really, I sort of tongue in cheek, told you at the beginning of the Gold Cup that they should just play like a 4-4-2 diamond and just give the width to the fullbacks, and I think that would have been a better strategy. Frankly, I don't, I think that having to play and also defend wide, I think really impacted Diego Luna in that game, and I think that you know. Greg's kid, like, he's not a wide
Sebastian
player.
Yeah,
And
Sebastian
so,
Berhalter's playing right wing.
why are we doing that? Like, I don't understand. And so, I would have been, much more content to either do, like a 4-4-2 diamond or 4-2-2 and just press and try and dominate the middle of the field that way. But that's not what happened, and that's not what they did, and it is what it is. And I think that the fact that group of players were competitive and played Mexico so close, and almost got, they almost scored an equalizer and forced penalties. I think it says more about the lack of Mexican talent than it does about our pool, because these in many choices were like third choice players, or fourth choice players, and in many places that was Mexico's first choice team, and like, whatever, like, they can win the Gold Club. I don't care.
Yeah, I think that is probably the best take to have when it comes to this. Looking at certain player performances, I will say I was not very enthused about how Tyler Adams played in this game.
He was terrible. He was terrible.
He was, for a guy you expect to be a leader on the field. I think he's wearing the armband. Like, you expect to be a leader on the field, and you expect, with his experience, World Cup experience, international experience, Premier League experience, to be sort of the adult out there, and he just looked like hair on fire Tyler Adams the whole time.
Yeah.
And
I think he took that too seriously, that responsibility, and he tried to do too much.
Did the Eric Tommy? Yeah.
That's my impression of it, right? And he probably felt like he had to do that because like I'm sorry, like, it's not like Luca de la Torre was worth a shit. I mean, come on, give me a break.
No, I know, but like, if you vacate central midfield to go press 20 yards up and leave Luca de la Torre by himself,
yeah, that's kind of
that's an even better decision, in my opinion. Yeah. So, like, anyway, I think that, to your point, I don't really worry myself too much about this game. I agree with you that they struggled to get the ball out of their own end, and at a certain point they just stopped trying. They just sat in a 4-4-2 and just tried to absorb and tried to be organized. And, unfortunately, it wasn't a team that had drilled that very much, right? Like, you didn't get the sense that Pochettino was, like, saying, hey, we're going to need to absorb against Mexico for 90 minutes, because they were not very effective at it. They had
no outlet plan. Like, they had nobody running behind. This is what Velasquez
said a lot about Malik Tillman. Yeah, so Tillman.
That's not Tillman's gig, right?
But availing himself to his teammates in passing situations is.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
you would
when
think
they would when they would be on the ball and trying to go forward, Tillman was checked out far right all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's giving them no passing options.
Yeah, you gotta have somebody in front of you to pass to. That's something we learned, a lot with Burmese teams.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't have that, it makes it really difficult.
Makes it very difficult, right? And so I think that if you're looking at players, you need to sort of grade on a curve that as far as their performance is concerned. Tillman's curve is different than others because you're expecting him to be a player like he was up until this match, one of the best players of the tournament. Right?
Up until they played a good team.
Well, but this has been my issue with Tillman the whole time.
Right.
He looks great at PSV Eindhoven, where 90% of the time they're so much better than everyone else that he can just ball out.
Yeah. Well,
but when they play Ajax or Feyenoord, or you know what I mean, like they don't look that good. Or when he's in Champions League, sometimes good, sometimes not. Right. And against Mexico, and don't get me wrong, I think a lot of these guys were tired. I mean, it's not like there was this is another conversation too. It's like it feels a lot like the World Cup where they didn't have much rotation capability.
Yep.
And to be honest, like I looked at the bench and it wasn't like I was like, man, we should bring these guys on.
You don't think the Aronson brothers were going to get the job done?
And Paxton wasn't even dressed for this. I don't even know if he was even available. Stu Holden's going on and on about how long it took Pochettino to make subs, and I'm like, well, who the fuck do you want him to bring on? Quinn Sullivan?
Right. That's it.
I mean, it's not. The cupboards are pretty bare.
Yep.
And I think that goes to your point, right? Which is that Mexico was able to sub on legitimate players, and they brought in Santi Jimenez, they brought in Orbelín Pineda, right? They brought in like Santi Jimenez. Isn't he going to like Milan for a bunch of fucking money? Like
he's already there.
He's already at Milan. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they went from Raúl Jimenez to Santi Jimenez, right? So like they've got the depth is just much more significant, and because they have their A team, they were just better in this one. Edson Alvarez I thought was really good in this game, by the way. Although I will say the one that jumped off the page to me was a 16-year-old Gilberto Mora. Did you watch this kid? Holy shit,
he's good.
Like holy shit, that guy. I mean, it's one match, right? But still, like a 16-year-old in an international final, playing for his national team, like that was pretty high level stuff, right? If you're a Mexican national team fan, you got to be fired up about that kid for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. One thing to look for: Seattle comes to town this weekend. It is retro night. They will be celebrating the 2000 Supporters Shield MLS Cup double winners, and a number of those players will be there. Doesn't sound like Peter Ramiz will be one of them, but it sounds like Tony Miola is going to be there. Preki will be there because he is the assistant coach for the Seattle Sounders, so he will be there. There are a few others that have been discussed in the Discord as potentially coming. There was an announcement by the club about a few players that will be there, but I'm sure we'll see Nick Garcia. I'm sure we'll see some of that. Like I saw Nick Garcia at Matt Beasler's thing, so I'm sure he'll be back for that. There will be a few. Mo Johnston, I would expect, will be there. We'll see a number of the guys on that team, which is still historically the best team in franchise history, winning 2 trophies and being as dominant as they were. Is that the year that Miola won the MVP? I think it's the only time a goalkeeper's won the MVP.
I think so.
Yeah. So it was just it'll be fun to look back fondly on 25 years ago that this team won MLS Cup. Holy shit, I'm old. Anyway, so that is the big celebration. Also, there will be a soccer match against the Seattle Sounders. Jordan Morris he got like 20 minutes in their last game, so cool.
Yeah, great.
Just healthy, just in time to come play Sporting. Yeah, that guy's never burned us ever. Yikes. Sounds like Guillemar might also be coming off the injury list, so they're not going to have to play Alex Roldan at center back. So yeah.
I mean, I'm terrified of. I'm terrified of their whole team, honestly. Like especially if Guillemar's back.
And Bartlett's suspended, so who's playing the 6? Radia seemed to be in training, but I don't think he's going to play much, considering the fact that the last time he came back from this injury, he got injured again in like 20 minutes. So I suspect that if Radia is available, it's not for much time. So we're going to see Memo Rodriguez at the 6? Are we going to see a Davis Basong double pivot? Like, what are we going to see?
We are going to see almost 0 passes in the midfield is what we're going to see. The ball's going out wide or going up top, and
going
that's
long.
that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I actually don't hate Bartlett's matchup if he's available for this one, because Rusnak is sort of that central roamer, and Bartlett can just man mark him, and I would have been okay with that. Although I do have concerns about Manu tracking Christian Roldan. So, I mean, there's Seattle's just a good team, man. They have a number of players who I think are underrated at the high level and are very well coached. And I have limited optimism for this game.
So I agree. I have limited optimism as well. But let's hang our hat on John Pulskamp. This is a good opportunity for Pulskamp to.
Pulskamp saved our ass last week.
Hey man,
he saved almost a whole goal last week. Like, what do you want? Like,
he might have to do better this week.
Yeah. Get another -3 expected goal differential win. Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Let's go. We can do it.
All right. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what Carey does in the midfield because of Bartlett being out.
I think he'll go as defensive as he possibly can. So I mean, I
don't know if he'll do that at home.
I think he better do it. That's what I think because otherwise it's gonna be
what I've seen from Carey is he tends to go all gas no brakes if he's missing. Because remember the last time he went when Jake was suspended, he went Eric, Tommy, Manu, and Bartlett is the midfield. I mean, and that was they created the most chances of the year in that game. Yeah. Their best XG of the year. They actually won the XG battle against Charlotte. Now, granted, Seattle is not Charlotte, but I don't know. I don't know what they'll do. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. It'll be fun regardless.
It will be. It'll be good to have retro nights. Always fun. Although there doesn't seem to be as much retro night gear this year as there have been in the past. But there is a cool T-shirt and a scarf. No varsity jackets for you this year, Cody. It seems like. So.
Yeah. In general, the gear's kind of taken a. I don't know. It's not as awesome this year. It doesn't get my excitement as up as it has in the past, and so
I'm gonna have to talk to Thomas about that. I don't know. I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast.
I think they're building. I think that it's a transition year. I think they're building for next year.
They're building.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
Sounds like a plan. That sounds good. So we'll have to see how it goes this week. And unfortunately, next week we will be off. I am out of town all of next week, so there's not really a good time for us to get together. So you're going to have to wait for our analysis of Retro Night, as well as one more game. It'll be NYCFC, I think, is the next home game. And we will try to cover both of those, as well as any other news that happens in and around the team. We'll be getting close to the beginning of the secondary transfer window, so some news I'm sure will be coming around along, if not about Sporting, around a bunch of other teams like Rodrigo De Paul apparently trying to go to Inter Miami. We'll have to see how all those things shake out. And until then, I'm Drew. He's Cody. We will talk to y'all in a couple weeks.
Go Sporting.